The problem with socialism, I see it, if you are a collective, everybody has to conform, because if everybody doesn't conform, the system falls apart. And the problem with that is that means the socialist collective has to be the highest authority available. You have to kick God out. Because if there's God, then you have a personal responsibility to do what God says and disobey potentially what the civil authority says. That becomes a problem for the socialists. So they got to get rid of God. And then they got to get rid of guns. Because if you have the ability to defend yourself, then they can't control you to the same degree. And you also have to get rid of wealth. Everybody's going to have all the same unless you're a part of the Politburo.
Let me tell you a great story. Now, Lynn and I just spent 4 days in Havana, and we go to a restaurant, and a great restaurant, privately run, and about maybe 70, 80 are like that. We're not allowed to open up a second restaurant. They could only have that one restaurant because the government did not want them to suddenly have 8, 9, 10 restaurants and develop wealth, would develop a power structure. And if you look at where does the power and the wealth in our nation lie? If you take 8 zeros off the government numbers, 8 zeros off the government numbers. Go on the debt clock and you see all these numbers there. You have a household, an individual. You have a Kevin Freeman earning $35,000, spending $47,000 with a $230,000 credit card tab. Now all these politicians, they can't be so dumb as to think that you're going to take all the private dollars going to MD Anderson, Sloan Kettering, Mayo Clinic, all these doctors, all this private money, said, okay, from now on this is going to be a government expense. How are they going to do that? These kids are not stupid. They can see through that. Anybody can see through that, unless you're maybe a Harvard professor making $400,000 a year. Maybe you won't be able to see it.
Wow. Well, that's true. And the other problem with it is it takes away, if you make it a collective and even everybody out, it takes away the opportunity for personal generosity. And what you said was very important. You combined what Jesus said about caring for your neighbor, which is Galatians, the verse you like, bearing one another's burdens. And thus fulfill the law of Christ. And you put that with economic self-interest in producing wealth. So you're producing as maximum wealth, that's the maximum, and then you're being the most generous you can be. I think that's the best of all worlds, isn't it?
Well, if you look at Russia, we were over there in the 70s, and this whole idea about it equalizes everybody, that's baloney, because the Communist Party members were able to go into the tourist shops where you could buy nice things. The local guy living on the economy, he wasn't allowed in there. So it elevates a group of people. And if you look at in our political system, think of all the people who become incredibly wealthy. And can you believe the scandal with Hunter Biden?
Yeah, because Pelosi's, the Clintons, the Reeds,
just making lots and lots of money off of the government. So this whole idea, well, socialism is a nice way of kind of evening the playing field. It's a bad story.
That's a great point. In fact, one of the wealthiest women in the world, worth maybe $3 or $4 billion, is Hugo Chavez's daughter. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
She inherited maybe $4 billion from her father, the communist, right? How in the world do you get $4 billion starting off poor and being the head of... here's how you do it, is you nationalize everything. You turn the wealthiest, most oil-rich nation on the planet, more oil than Saudi Arabia, into a disaster, and then you suck up all the money for yourself.